Yeah. You're really serious like that. It was fun. And so my grandson did
Hi everybody, welcome to Bloomingdale School of Music. Thank you for being here. I am José Maldonado, the Director of Guitar Studies at the school. Is it the first time for anybody being at Bloomingdale? Yeah. Great, welcome to the family. So the mission of Bloomingdale is to provide access to high quality music education. We do that in many different ways, through individual lessons, through group classes, chamber music, and also through events like this one, where we not only come together to enjoy the beautiful music that our guest artist Arturo is going to perform for us, but we're also going to learn a lot from the stories that Arturo tells through his music. So Arturo is the final guest of our concert series for guitar, classical guitar. We had a great concert series this year, and I'm really excited to finish with Arturo because I know Arturo personally from when I was in my undergrad studies. So the last time I saw Arturo, I didn't have this beard. I've been growing it since. So it's been a long time. And we studied together at the Conservatorio de Música de Puerto Rico. So a lot of the music that he's going to perform was the music that surrounded us in the daily basis. nowadays we have to make musicians from the Caribbean and artists from the Caribbean. We have to make this intention of remembering this heritage and performing this heritage, talking about it, research about it, and performing it. So it's really exciting for me to put the guitar away and just sit down and listen to Arturo perform. So I just want to say a short story from Arturo and our time in the Conservatorio. We started in this very small music school that is kind of like a shoebox, very, very small. And we had to fight for practice rooms. There was very little practice rooms, so everybody was fighting for the practice rooms. So when you see your friends in the morning, you say hi and you start like walking fast because you want to get there earlier to grab a room and practice, right? But a good thing is in Puerto Rico it's always nice weather, so you can also practice outside and just practice in the hallway, etc. And I remember going back to Puerto Rico a few years after. I heard the Conservatory had this beautiful new building, which is really amazing, right in front of the ocean, beautiful. But I wanted to go see the old building. It's not there anymore. It's a parking now. But regardless of that, I have many good memories of my time up there, studying and making friends like Arturo. A few notes I want to say. If you are really into guitar and you want to learn more, please stay in touch. We have a lot of concerts, a lot of great classes. If you look at the end of the program, we have a summer workshop for guitar students. And we are also going to do something similar. Unfortunately, it's not in this program, but for adults on the weekend right after that week. So the 22nd and the 23rd, we have a guitar program for adults. If you had enough guitar for the day, there's also the same thing for piano and for strings, so you can choose your instruments if you would like to change that. Please silence your phones or any noisemakers, and please join me to welcome Arturo to the stage.
There's a slight program change. I'm going to start with the Puerto Rican and Cuban danzas. And so the first one is La Comparsa. And the danza is one of our first classical music in the Caribbean, something that was developed by composers who study abroad. The first one is by one of the best pianists that ever come out of Cuba. His name was Ernesto Lecuona. And all of these are guitar arrangements, by the way. And this one is a comparsa. It's a carnival troupe that comes from afar and that suddenly is in front of you, and then it just continues until the next time. The next one, it's a Puerto Rican one. There were two types, the festive one and the romantic one. Now this one is by a composer from the southern Puerto Rico. He studied in Paris in a very important time of classical music. Chopin was alive and was playing, and all of these amazing musicians that we listen to in concert halls. And his name was Manuel Gregorio Tavares. And this song is called, or the danza is called Margarita. next one is also from Puerto Rico. Cuñadita literally means the little sister-in-law. And so this composer was also a lawyer, a political activist, and he was a publisher. That was one of the main reasons why we have so much of this music from the 19th century. And this guy also liked to compose, and this one is one of his finest danzas. these arrangements, the past one and this one, are made by my teacher from Puerto Rico, Leonardo Gurbida. He made a whole book about, all these dancers trying to find another instrument similar to what happened to the Spanish piano music from Albeniz and Granados, that it sounds so well in the guitar that makes we guitarists are happy to play them. No? Olimpo Otero is the composer. The next two are by a very interesting composer from Cuba, probably the finest or the most important composer of the 19th century. His name was Ignacio Cervantes. He also studied in Paris. The relation between the two islands with the danza is that there was a French-American composer that traveled through the Caribbean, composing music, but also, like, in a way, I think it was like trying to spot new talents and then motivating them to go to study abroad. And Manuel Gregorio Tavares from Puerto Rico was one of those guys, and Ignacio Cervantes was another one. This last one from Cuba. And when he returned back to Cuba, he started composing tons of music, and he has fantastic for orchestra, for piano, for many things. But also, he was very politically involved, so he started creating music and organizing concerts in order to raise funds for the independence effort. So the Spanish authorities found out, they exiled him. He managed to come back again, continue doing the same thing, exiled him again. And so in one of those times that he had to go, I think the second time, he composed this danza called Adios a Cuba, which means goodbye to Cuba. He thought he would never come back. So you can imagine him in the harbor of Havana with 8 or 9 children, getting into that boat thinking, this is the last time I'm going to see my country. And and I think if you ever have felt nostalgic, I think this is a perfect way of, a Caribbean point of view of nostalgia. he managed to come back the second time. Last one of this group of danzas is a very special one for me, at least. I grew up in the countryside of Puerto Rico, and anyone who has been in Puerto Rico has heard the coqui. The coqui is a small tree frog that goes like, let me see if I can do it, like, something like that. Now it's very loud and it's very distinctive. You will not miss it. Now this composer grew up also in the countryside. His name was José Ignacio Pinton, and he composed this little danza that is based on the sound of the coqui, and you're gonna listen to it during the piece. And I think that it's a beautiful example of how artists are so they're a reflection of their surroundings. No, if they come from the seaside, or they come from the mountains, and you can hear this. And this is a perfect example of this natural, one of the most natural sounds from Puerto Rico, especially from the countryside. So, el coqui. The next piece I want to play, I think it says around there like Sonata 3 by Manuel Maria Ponce. Now I was born in Mexico, so I always try to keep Mexican music in my programs. But tonight I want to do something of the Caribbean, so Cuba and Puerto Rico. So, but then this piece, even though it's not from the Caribbean, it means a lot to me because it's called La Catedral, or the Cathedral. And I grew up like I said, in the countryside. So for me, this kind of religious experience that one feels inside of a cathedral, the quietness, the connection with something much bigger than ourselves. I felt it on the forest, or in the countryside, in the mountains, in nature, and that has been always something that it's always with me, you know. So this piece, there is a story about the composer that one of the musicologists that studied him wrote in a fantastic book. It's about the second and third movement are the original ones from 1922, and the point is that he goes inside of a cathedral in Uruguay, and he shares this beautiful connection with well, the religious, with God, or with whatever we believe, but it was something about the music, the organ music, that you can relate to maybe some Bach or something like that. And then he continues his way, and he gets out of the cathedral and continues on the streets. And all this noise and all this, everyone is in a hurry. And he tries to put this in the third movement, in the Allegro Solemne. Now, the first movement was added much later, in 1932, if I'm not mistaken, and eventually it became a piece, a three-part piece. Augustín Barrios, he's originally from Paraguay. He's a fantastic, he was a fantastic guitarist, but also a very original one. While Segovia was playing a couple of movements of a suite in Europe, he was playing the complete suite. He was arranging this, he was composing his own music, and on top of that, at the beginning, he was maybe dressed with a frock and all, very European, but eventually he went back to his roots, and he started dressing like as a Guarani Indian with a feather and makeup, and it was quite impressive for the time. You can imagine seeing this guy dressed like this, but playing probably the best guitar you've heard in your life. So I think it's a very, very interesting guy. So without further ado, La Catedral. Hope you enjoy it. the next piece I want to play for you, it's a Puerto Rican sonata, composed by the fantastic and very well-known Puerto Rican composer Roberto Sierra. Roberto Sierra, to give you an idea, he's been played by all major American orchestras. In Boston Symphony just played again for the 10th or 20th or 30th time one of his pieces called Fandangos. Royal Liverpool Orchestra under Maestro Hindoyan just recorded his 6th symphony. Gewandhaus Leipzig, Radio Televisión Española, all these big orchestras in the world play his music regularly. For us Puerto Ricans, it's a fantastic thing to see that one of the most important American composers right now, it's come from the island and studied in the same conservatory where José and I studied. And the small one, not the nice one in front of the beach. He probably had to fight for some rooms too. So, and he composed this piece in 2010, and since then it has become part of the normal guitar repertoire all over the world. Just to give you an idea, Guitar Foundation of America, which holds probably the biggest competition, if not in the world, at least in the U.S. One of the set pieces a couple of years ago was the sonata, and yeah, a lot of people have played it, and it's a fantastic work. The reason is Sierra has a very personal language that he developed through the years studying under people like Giorgio Ligeti or composers here in the U.S., in several parts of Europe, in Germany, in England, but he always brings his Caribbean heritage, especially the Afro-Caribbean rhythms that one sees in our music. So this sonata, the first movement, is a traditional sonata structure, like introduction, exposition, and then development, and then it goes back to the first theme. And then the second movement is a series of notes. It's called Andante Religioso. No, sorry, not Andante Religioso. It's Expresivo Casi Religioso. It was the Catedral. And then the third movement is a scherzo. It's like a game between two types of music. And the fourth is a salsiado, which is a final movement based on the rhythm of salsa, clave. If you've ever done salsa, you know the ta 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 ta, So this rhythm. So hope you enjoy Sonata para Guitarra by Roberto Sierra. To end this program, I wanted to play some music that is heavily influenced from, well, our folk music from the Caribbean, which is all this mixture of rhythms and from, you put a little bit of West Africa, a little bit of indigenous communities, a little bit of Europeans and French, Portuguese, Spanish, even Chinese culture. There's a lot of that too, especially in Cuba and in Puerto Rico. So we have a very rich, fantastic music, as you may know. And these next three pieces are all based in like folk music, but they have been composed in a way that similar to, you could have dance in the 19th century, a polonaise from normal dance halls in Poland, and then you have Chopin that composes these beautiful artistic things that is based on these rhythms. Now the first one I'm going to play is Guajira a mi madre. It's a guajira. You've probably heard Guantaname. That's a guajira. And the composer of Guajira a mi madre, José Antonio Nico Rojas, he was born in Matanzas, Cuba. He was never a professional musician in the sense that he never went to school for that. He was an engineer, but a fantastic guitarist, as you will see. And he never wrote any of this music. He just recorded it. And today, how we learn it is some guy just sat down, actually transcribed everything. And he's one of the developers of feeling, which is a very important musical movement of Cuba, especially in the 20th century, which searches for more complex chords for the traditional boleros and trova. For example, if you like Cuban music, Pablo de Milanés and all of these musicians tend to be part of the feeling. No? Also the big bolero composers like César Portillo de la Luz and many others. So I hope you enjoy Guajira a mi madre. Oh, it means Guajira to my mom, no? So it's perfect for this week. considered like our second national anthem. I don't think there is a Puerto Rican that doesn't know this song or has heard this song before. It was composed, I believe, in the 60s by Antonio Cabanvale, El Topo, and it's called Verde Luz. Now, Verde Luz is a song about a little bit about nostalgia, about wanting to go back, which is a recurring theme in Puerto Rican literature and Puerto Rican music, about, you know, there have been great emigrations from Puerto Rico to Hawaii to the continental United States, like, and they're probably like double the amount of Puerto Ricans outside of Puerto Rico than in Puerto Rico. So this is a beautiful arrangement by Nestor Hernandez of Verde Luz. Feel free to sing it if you know. thank you all for joining me in this beautiful evening. It's the first time I play in New York, so well yesterday, but this is the first trip I had to play. I want to thank Dr. Maldonado for inviting me, and the Bloomingdale School of Music for, thank you very much, please. So I say goodbye with another Cuban piece. This one is by the composer Eduardo Martin, called Son. It's a interesting story because he composed Preludio, Son y Allegro. That's like a prelude, son, and allegro, no? Same thing. After we have a piece in the classical guitar world by it's a fugue piece that from Johann Sebastian Bach called Prelude, Fugue, and Allegro. And what he did is that he composed something similar, but instead of doing a fugue, he composed a son, and he explores the contrapuntal possibilities, but on our music instead of the traditional European fugue. And I'm just gonna play the son, but I hope you like Son by Eduardo Martin. Should I play another one? Or?
Yes, yes.
I'll finish with one Puerto Rican song again. And this one is very interesting. The composer was not a professional guitarist, again, like Nico Rojas and many others. But he was probably one of the best guitarists Puerto Rico has ever seen. And his name was Miguel Alcaide. And he played a lot of music, boleros, and this romantic music. He would play in trios, and he would be well known in the popular music scene of Puerto Rico. And he composed this piece. It's called Poquita Cosa. Now, Poquita Cosa means literally like little thing, like a bagatelle. So the first time I heard this, I thought that, oh, this is like something almost metaphysical, like, wow, this is just the simplicity of life, if you want, and thinking of Marcus Aurelius and all of this. And then I met some people that knew him, and he said, no, the piece originally is called Tasco. And Poquita Cosa is a soap opera that eventually used that music, and but Tasco, it's a city in Mexico, but it's not even dedicated to that. It was just a popular bar that he would just like to drink in Bayamon. He died of cirrhosis, so you can imagine he enjoyed that bar a lot. So hope you enjoy Poquita Cosa or Tasco by Miguel Alcaide.
that's our show. If you stick around for a few more seconds or a few more minutes, you might get to meet Arturo. I'm gonna make him come back just to say hi for everybody. But thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure. That's our show. I'm gonna put some music for us. Can I put music?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna go get it. No, I'm just gonna go grab it. I'm just gonna put some music.
Yeah,
hang
of
out
course,
here.
of course. Thank you so much for being here. Where are you from? Speak Spanish? Yeah, well, I'm so happy. Yeah, we're in the Caribbean. The thing is that Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are, yeah, we're so close. I have so many friends from Puerto Rico Americana over there because